It's true. Yeah, I pressed it.
You have lost your mind.
Their unimaginably destructive potential makes them uncomfortable to think about, but they sure are interesting though. Welcome to WatchMojo's Top 5 Facts. In this installment, we're counting down the most interesting facts about nuclear bombs.
Shall we play a game?
Oh.
Number 5. The American nuclear launch code used to be 8 consecutive zeros.
That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life. That's the kind of thing an idiot would have on his luggage.
In the early 1960s, President Kennedy ordered the installation of a PAL, or Permissive Action Link, on all of America's nukes that were siloed in other countries, in order to prevent renegades in those countries from blowing up the world. But there was one major problem with the $23 million project, and that was the code 00000000.
So easy. So simple.
Apparently, the Air Force didn't want not having the code to delay launch in an emergency, which does have some logic to it. Entering the digits wouldn't have been the only step needed to launch, but still, not the most complex group of numbers. Even so, the generic code is the equivalent of the most basic email password, except this password was for a, nuclear bomb.
No way. It can't be. Jesus Christ, that is just Babytown frolics.
But the code remained 8 zeros for nearly 2 decades anyways.
Holy shit, our security is atrocious.
Number 4. One Russian man prevented Armageddon. In 1983, a Russian lieutenant colonel named Stanislav Petrov trusted his mind over a machine. And by doing so, he essentially prevented World War III. Back then, the Russians and Americans had a few unresolved issues.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
So one day Petrov looked at his missile detection system and saw that some warheads were headed to the homeland and thought, well, that's not good.
Looks like it's pretty hairy.
Yes, sir.
But then again, only 5 missiles, America? Surely there had to be more than that. Petrov knew from his training that those imperialist dogs would launch hundreds at once if they sent any. And so Petrov chalked it up to an equipment error. And he was right. The Soviet satellite system had some design flaws to work out. Petrov was commended for preventing the destruction of half the planet, but also reprimanded for not properly filling out his paperwork for the day. Ah, military bureaucracy.
Components, American components, Russian components, all made in Taiwan.
Number 3. Not all nuclear bombs are designed for a big bang. Anyone who's seen WatchMojo's list of the top 10 nuclear bomb scenes in movies knows this about nukes. The lingering radiation will be bad, but it's the fiery blast that'll cause the destruction. But neutron bombs operate a little bit differently. While they do explode with a bang, they are designed to be deployed on a battlefield and kill soldiers by releasing massive amounts of radiation beyond the blast radius, which, if you ask us, is even more terrifying. The bomb's inventor, Sam Cohen, first conceived of it in the late 50s. It's been discussed as a possible way to deny oncoming forces without damaging as much property. A real capitalism-friendly bomb. It wouldn't be the initial blast that would kill people, but rather the after effects, as its creator, Sam Cohen, so accurately conveys. Number 2. A Harvard professor proposed that presidents should kill for the nuclear code. During the Cold War, the president would constantly be shadowed by a man carrying a briefcase, nicknamed the football, containing the nuclear launch codes the president would need to launch a nuclear strike.
This is the nuclear football, sweetie. It is keyed to the blood type and heartbeat of the President of the United States.
Around this time, Roger Fisher, a Harvard law professor and frequent advisor to the Secretary of State, was troubled that the president could use these codes in such an impersonal manner. So he proposed a special volunteer for the president, a man who would have a capsule containing the launch codes implanted under his heart and carry around a giant butcher knife. To get those codes, the president would have to cut out this innocent man's heart. As Fisher put it, quote, "The president says, George, I'm sorry, but tens of millions must die. He has to look at someone and realize what death is, what an innocent death is," unquote. The Pentagon wasn't crazy about the idea. Number 1. The US accidentally dropped 2 nuclear bombs on North Carolina.
Who should we nuke first?
Let's see.
In 1961, just 3 days after the inauguration of John F. Kennedy, the United States almost nuked itself. The problem started when a B-52 bomber began to break down over North Carolina with 2 nuclear bombs on board. and these bombs were pretty powerful. In fact, they were 260 times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. Fortunately, one actually got caught in a tree, while the other just failed to detonate after striking the American soil at 700 miles per hour. It wasn't until 2013 that the world learned that 3 of the 4 safety mechanisms on one of the bombs had been deactivated in the crash. And if the bombs would have detonated, well, the JFK conspiracy theories would be quite different.
Well, Kennedy was murdered by mutants.
So what do you think? Should the president have to murder one man to order the deaths of millions of others?
You got 3 minutes to decide.
For more explosive top 10s and 000000000 top 5s, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Mr. President, it is not only possible, it is essential